Again, we are faced with riots in the United States today, primarily in the Missouri area, because another black man has been killed by police by placing his knee on his neck, causing him to be unable to breathe. Now, this has broken out into massive riots inside of Missouri and has also sparked off riots in several other cities as well. As police violence continues to increase, the public reaction, particularly those from African Americans, is increasing as well. Now, it has gotten to the point where demonstrators have broken into the Minneapolis police headquarters, setting fires and destroying everything in sight, unleashed by the killing of this black man. The Minneapolis Police Department 3rd Precinct was breached late on Thursday night, and they had to abandon the police station because they had insufficient means to defend themselves from the angry mob, and rightfully angry that they were. Now, there's also been unconfirmed reports that gunshots have been fired in Minneapolis. There are at least several individuals who are dead who have been shot by police officers. In fact, this was mainly reported by Carlos G. Photo, a photojournalist on Twitter who saw these shots being fired, but is not exactly sure where these shots came from. We do, however, know that there are several people dead at this time. Now, obviously, in a situation where you have mass riots like this, you are going to see instigators by the police officers undercover, trying to spark off protests. Now, there are videos of a man going around smashing windows, trying to cover his identity, and has pretty much been revealed as a police officer working undercover. Now, we know this because his fiancée said she's 90% sure it's him based on the gear that he's wearing. So this is someone who knows him very, very well. His fiancée, someone who couldn't know him any better than his mother. So you always do have these agitators, which is very strange that the police would send someone out to go smash the windows of an auto parts store to try to kick off a riot when there's already a riot in process. And as they say, the riot is the rhyme of the unheard. So it's almost like spitting in the ocean, pretty much. Now, this has taken on a new dimension when Trump authorized the use of lethal force. At one point, he quoted verbatim a KKK police chief who was defending the lynching of African Americans amidst accusation that the state government is collapsing, with now neo-Nazi militias showing up to defend the police. And that is where America is right now, ladies and gentlemen. We are watching basically an entire state fall apart over the murder of another black man. Regardless of whether or not he even did anything, let's say he's 100% guilty. Are the police allowed to just hold you down and suffocate you to death? You know what that's called, right? That's called a death squad. That's what they do. Law enforcement and death squads are supposed to be two different things. Well, in most countries, they're two different things. But in the United States, sometimes it's hard to tell, given the actions of police officers and the insanely high murder rate that police officers have at the public in the U.S. And this level of violence, this level of murder is unthinkable in most other countries around the world. There are countries who are literally in the middle of a civil war where the police don't even kill that many people. Think about that. Police in the U.S. kill more people, yeah, including white people, at a rate higher than countries literally in a civil war. Just to put some perspective on this whole thing. Now, Twitter are now sorting Trump tweets as promoting or glorifying violence. In other words, they refused to take down his tweet. They said this is promoting glorifying violence, but we're going to keep it up because it is, frankly, for historical purposes, is important, and I fully agree with that. I think it is important to catalog the hate speech, the narcissism, the utter insanity that this president has given to the world. So I think it's very important that it be cataloged. Yes, people are calling on social media for Trump to be censored, even have his Twitter account shut down. But this isn't like some idiot on the internet spouting racist speech. This is the man who holds the most powerful office in the entire country. An office often self-appointed as the leader of the free world. More ironic words have never been spoken. But it's interesting to see this. I think it's important that the world know what he has said, know what he has done. So yes, it violates the terms of service, but is in a unique position because he is the president of a country. And everybody needs to remember everything that he's done. Now here's the thing. When he said, when they start looting, you start shooting. When the looting starts, the shooting starts. These are the words of a racist police officer, member of the KKK, who was defending lynching black people. And Trump quoted him verbatim. Now, I do consider it a possibility that he did this by accident. I suppose it's possible. It's just a coincidence that he used the exact same words. But you have that gut intuition that it wasn't. That perhaps he specifically chose these words. That was from Miami Police Chief Walter Hidley about the 1968 lynching campaign. He literally said, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Now, as all this is going on, the police are throwing fuel on their own fire. A CNN journalist, who I suppose just happened to be black, was arrested live on television even after identifying himself. The police are arresting mainstream journalists. Now, many people would claim that they're only doing it because he's black, which may very well be true. But I also think there's another aspect to this that might be maybe even more important in this unique situation. This is intimidation of the media. Do I really have any sympathy for CNN? Not really. I've got sympathy for this particular guy, probably because they arrested him. Part of the determination for that was the fact that he was black. But keep in mind, this isn't just the government coming down and saying, okay, we control the media now, you're not going to report. This is the police deliberately, maliciously, and in full public view intimidating the media into silence. They're sending a message. I don't even think it was just a coincidence. I think they deliberately did it on camera in front of, frankly, the entire world, because CNN is worldwide, sending a direct message to media. If you report on the crimes that we do, we will arrest you. Well, so much for the First Amendment. These weren't even people participating in the riot. They were simply covering it, which is, the First Amendment, freedom of speech, holding government accountable by reporting what's happening. And that isn't even allowed anymore. Think about that. That's the message they're sending. Now, there's a couple more points I want to make. Do you notice these riots are getting bigger? Every time this happens, these riots get larger and larger and larger. I think a huge section of the population, the black population, obviously, are just about fed up with these police killings. And it's interesting to note, as the black celebrity, I can't remember who they are right now, but they said police brutality hasn't really gone up. It's just being recorded. Something to that effect, I'm paraphrasing it, but you get the point. More and more people are seeing that it's happening. This is one of the reasons, to put it simply, you notice that a lot of these things that report on police abuses are being attacked. The police is being attacked, and there's a cop watch is being attacked, and these people are generally not of a particular, the point of what they're doing is not a particular political leaning, but being right or left, but their main focus is to show what the police are doing, and they're being targeted. Now, there's an old RSA Animate video that shows when people get together in a public place, their attitudes multiply. I'm not explaining it as good as they did. When each individual person is sitting at home watching what's happening and being angry, they don't see the other people that are angry. Even though they know that they're there, they're not connecting with them. But then when you start having mass rallies and that anger comes together, it turns into something bigger. This is one of the reasons why dictatorships ban public gatherings. When you see and feel the other people that are angry, you start understanding your collective power. This is why capitalism atomizes this kind of anger and are the first ones to stop public gatherings from taking place that are a form of protest. Because once you're together, you start understanding how angry everyone is. And that anger starts being focused. I'm not really explaining it right, but I'm pretty sure that you get what I'm saying right now. And that's what we're experiencing. An increase in that anger and the applicability of that anger. We could even look at it in terms of dialectics. Is this a qualitative or quantitative change? As you add more people in, that's a quantitative. Well, when you add in enough, you get something that is not just the anger of individuals at an injustice, but you now have a mob that can take action. Hell, that's a straight up dialectical principle. Quantity into quality. We can even look at it in that, plain old Marxist dialectic ways, and we can understand it like that. And that's something we should all be able to get. And one last thing. Maybe two last things. Where are the Democrats?
It's a violation of my ethics to talk and evaluate evidence before we announce our charging decision, and I will not do that. I will say this, that video is graphic and horrific and terrible, and no person should do that. But my job in the end is to prove that he violated a criminal statute, and there is other evidence that does not support a criminal charge. We need to wade through all of that evidence and to come through with a meaningful determination, and we are doing that to the best of our ability.
Where are the Democrats to either denounce this or support this? I mean, they're supposed to be the party that cares about black people, right? And all the other ethnic minorities and marginalized groups. Yet when things like this happen, you kind of can't find them anywhere. They're being dead silent. If they support these riots, they're obviously going to catch hell from the system and the capitalist class for the support of destroying private property. Not that they would, really do anything that was against the capitalist class. But if they denounced it, they would lose the the support that they have from these marginalized groups, particularly African Americans. And then, the kind of that last little thin piece of fabric that is the veil of making them look like they're the party with heart. And I'm sure there's a Joe Biden vote for me or you're not black joke in there somewhere, but it eludes me right now. But that's what would be really scary. Them losing that. And maybe, not that it would turn black people towards the Republican Party, maybe to some degree, but maybe a lot of them would take a much more radical stance. I mean, we're kind of at the point where, and we've been at this point for a while actually, where people are just getting killed in the street by police. I mean, just show me where in any police manual on how to perform an arrest, where you put your knee on a guy's neck, which to me in that photo looks like his knee is awfully close to the carotid artery, which would kill somebody pretty fast. I'm not saying that's what he did. I'm saying it looks like it's pretty damn close to it. Obviously, he died from suffocation. But look at the news media coverage. Look at the statements by those in power. Now compare them to the riots that took place in Hong Kong. So here they are denouncing violence at home over the anger of a person being murdered by the police. They're saying, oh, this would disrespect the memory of the guy who died. Somehow I really don't think you would. I didn't know the guy. But I get the kind of feeling that he would be okay with this. For example, if I died at the hands of the police and people who liked me ended up being anti-police trying to tear things down, I'd be pretty cool with that actually. If anybody killed me and they wanted to go after that person, I'd be pretty okay with it. Doesn't necessarily make it right or wrong, but I'd be okay with it. But look at it. Hong Kong, out of some self-perceived difference from the Chinese mainland, the United States will pump endless amounts of money into that thing to cause more damage, more death, more destruction. They found the bomb factory in a school. I can't remember the name of the school right now, but full of like nail bombs and other explosives. And I believe it was like hundreds of explosives. And saying, oh, it's right that the Hong Kong people go around murdering innocent people because they're like totally different than mainland Chinese people, as if people in Hong Kong aren't Chinese or something. Nonsense. A divide that was created by the British to begin with. And there's much you could criticize of China for allowing that divide to continue by using the very foolish one country, two systems nonsense. But in no way justifies the United States coming in and supporting these riots. Supporting the murders that are being carried out in the country. It's not so much the property, but the people being killed. There's just the video of the man being set on fire by Hong Kong protesters because he disagreed with them. Or he spoke Mandarin because there have been people killed for simply speaking Mandarin in Hong Kong. But when there's righteous anger at a real injustice that has been committed in the United States, all of a sudden, their view on this violence has completely changed. So think about that. People have a right to be angry at an injustice that has occurred. Well, just not in America. There, you're supposed to totally trust the legal system to prosecute its own, and justice will be served. Almost sounds like some kind of 1980s RoboCop kind of nonsense. Because RoboCop is the good cop, right? Because he's literally has to go by the program that was fed into him. He cannot be corrupt. He must always go by the law as some kind of symbol of the future of law enforcement. We know that's not how it is. You could expand this into how much the police are portrayed in certain media. Like CSI. Or, I forget the other one. Law and Order. they're all great people who are always doing the right thing, and they're getting messed around by the criminals. And once a season, there's like one corrupt guy, and they all turn against him because they would totally not tolerate corruption in their ranks. Really? And that's the kind of image that you're fed. Although I find something about this very interesting. The neo-Nazi militias, who claim they're against the system because they believe it's run by Jews, for I'm sure whatever non sequitur it is that they believe that for. Think about that. These neo-Nazi militias, who are there to just, they're going to destroy the Zog machine, fight the Jewish-controlled government, etc., are defending the police from being destroyed. So, defend the police if black people don't like it? Even though it's the same system that you oppose. I mean, we're talking about neo-Nazis here. They're not really very bright, and they don't tend to think through the things that they say very well. Just some food for thought. So what we're looking at right now is the rhyme of the unheard. And as we continue to see these abuses by police being carried out, pardon me, as more and more innocent people are being killed and it is being caught on video and the world is able to see it, the amount of anger by African Americans is increasing. This is almost a dialectical allegory for boiling water. You keep adding more heat to water, and it becomes agitated until that quantity turns into quality, and that water becomes steam. We're seeing that right now. I mean, this is an old Marxist principle of social change. You keep repressing people, and eventually they're going to explode. And that's what we're looking at right now. We're looking at the dialectic in motion. And when that dialectic finally comes to the qualitative change, it's going to be the black population in the United States demanding the justice that they have been denied for so long. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.